Hello, Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling relaxed, having a peaceful life, and happy always. Now, let's go into the chapter 3. Enter Ramcharandas. Ramdas reached Mangalore by an evening train and directly made his way to the Kadri Hill. He came to a dharmashala situated close to the famous Seven Tanks. The rest house was in charge of a young boy by the name Madhav. The boy welcomed him with unfeigned delight. He offered Ramdas a deerskin on which he took his seat on a raised platform. Madhav was a well-built and healthy lad. He conceived a great and abiding love and regard for Ramdas. His perfect trust enabled him to lay before Ramdas the story of his life. He narrated, he lost his mother when he was still a little child and was thus thrown adrift into the world. He passed under the care of his relations from place to place, so his higher education was neglected. His elder brother had disappeared many years ago, whose whereabouts were unknown. His father, a petty clerk in some office, was touring with his officer in the district. He was without a home. The boy had a religious turn of mind from his childhood. He frequented kirtan parties and sought the society of sadhus. His inherent craving for freedom and peace was thus intensified. He prayed to God to grant him a situation in which he could spend all his time in devotion. Ramdas found that the boy's nature was pure and lovable. He was put in charge of the rest house by a merchant of the city who provided him with bare needs. His time was his own, which he spent in meditation. He was indeed an earnest seeker after truth. He was simple and guileless. Ramdas felt a strange attraction for him at the very first sight. He questioned Ramdas as to how he could control the restless mind. Ramdas gave him the Ram mantra, and thereafter the mantra was always on his lips. On Ramdas expressing to him his desire to remain in a perfectly solitary place, Madhav suggested the cave just a few yards above the dharmashala on the hill. This cave had been newly rebuilt by raising mud walls at the entrance. Ramdas, leaving his seat, asked the boy to lead him to the cave. The cave was a narrow and low hole just sufficient for one person to lie down. The mud walls were still undried and the floor was damp. It had a small doorway with shutters. Ramdas entered the cave and told Madhav that he had decided to spend the night in it and some days more. Madhav spread the deerskin on the floor of the cave and then returned to the rest house. Madhav was all kindness to him. He served him in every possible way. But there was something weighing on his mind and he looked worried. Ramdas found out that he had a debt of a few rupees. God arranged for it and set him free. Ramdas' stay in the cave was marked with many periods of fasting. But for his extreme physical weakness during the fast, he was perfectly at ease and cheerful. It must be noted here that whenever God inspired him to undertake a fast, he experienced great elation, similar to what a hungry man would feel when he was provided with a sumptuous feast. In all, he remained in the cave for about a month and a half. He received visits from many devotees of the city. He also went occasionally to the city in the evenings to attend kirtan parties. Once he was invited to a marriage function. A girl in the house was bedridden on account of serious illness. Ramdas saw her and prayed to the girl's father to entertain the poor of the town with a dinner in the name of God and for the sake of the ailing girl. Generous-hearted man as he was, he agreed to the suggestion. He said that he had already resolved to do so. The feeding of the poor came about in due course, but Ramdas was not in Mangalore for the occasion, as he had left the place earlier. A year later, he learned that the suffering girl had recovered soon after the feeding of the poor. Trust in God is always rewarded. Meanwhile, Madhav had developed a great attachment for Ramdas. One day, Ramdas told him that the Lord willed that his child, that is Ramdas, should take once more to a wandering life. Now the boy appealed in a piteous voice that he might also be permitted to go with him. He added that it would be utter misery for him to live separated from Ramdas. At this, Ramdas warned him. Well, Ram, the path which Ramdas follows is a hard one. For him, danger and death have no terror. You must know that he is a reckless, wild, and fearless wanderer. He deliberately courts suffering because he has discovered joy in it. Your case is different. So be advised. Do not seek to accompany him. Madhav would not yield to persuasion. He was very obstinate. He assured Ramdas that he was prepared to go through any trial in his company, but would never give him up. Ramdas had to acquiesce. Ramdas decided to start on foot on a long travel to the north via Gokarn, an important place of pilgrimage on the west coast of India, and informed Madhav about it. Madhav got things ready for the journey. He equipped himself with some cooking utensils and foodstuffs, which he shoved into a scrip prepared for the purpose. At this stage, he made a request to Ramdas. He desired to change his name and wanted Ramdas to suggest a new one. Ramdas gave him the name Ramcharandas, which he adopted from the time forward. So Ramdas would refer to him henceforth as Ramcharandas. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Poopoda.